The airport lounge experience is changing and fast. In fact, it's happening before our very eyes, and some of you may not even realize what's been going on. For some travelers, these changes will make airport lounges so much better into the future, while for others, it's going to completely ruin the perk that you used to love so much. See, both credit card issuers and airlines themselves have been pouring millions of dollars into building luxury lounges, flooding the market with ads, and handing out free cocktails and new curated menus like candy. And yet, as we stand today, some travelers are more frustrated than they've ever been. However, things are changing. And in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 big changes that are happening right now that will shape the airport lounge experience of the future. Let's dive right on in. Recently, I explained the fall of airport lounges and exactly why what used to be a luxury perk here in the United States has fallen on hard times. Hundreds of thousands of you watched, commented, and shared with me your personal experiences, both good and bad, about the current state of airport lounges. However, that was only half the story. See, that's what had been going on up to this point. But the new future for airport lounges and what you and I will experience going forward, well, that's being written right now, and that's the second chapter of this story. There are 4 big changes that we'll see next. 2 of them are really bad, but 2 are going to be really positive for airport lounges. So let's start off with change number 1, which is that lounge access in the future will be increasingly difficult to get. Getting into lounges is based on 2 primary pathways. First, you have access granted through credit cards. Second, you have access granted through airlines, whether it be through status or the type of ticket you purchased. Of course, there is a third way out there, and that's to pay exorbitantly high rates for daily entry or yearly membership passes, but that's not how I and a lot of you out there prefer to access these spaces. Let's look at credit card access, which is only going to get more difficult and more restrictive in the coming years. It only takes a brief glance into the past to show us the future of this space. In 2024, Delta, in their Sky Clubs, removed that access from one of their more premium cards, the $350 Delta SkyMiles Platinum card. An expensive card, but not at their top. That's for the Delta Reserve, coming in at $650 on an annual fee. However, jumping a year forward in 2025, even that top card got slashed. Delta SkyMiles Reserve card holders are now limited to just 15 visits a year. And if you have the Amex Platinum, which has a business relationship with Delta, you're limited to just 10 visits a year into a Delta Sky Club. Of course, both of those restrictions can be lifted with $75K in spend, but that doesn't apply to many of us out there. Almost every airline or credit card issuer is shifting in this direction. In fact, as I speak today, there's only one $0 annual fee card that allows you to access lounges. That's the US Bank Altitude Connect, and it only has 4 visits per year to Priority Pass lounges. Let's see how much longer that card is able to hang on. The next future factor to expect is that guest access and even authorized user access, well, that's going to go completely away. The Capital One Venture X card made huge news this week and startled everybody when they slashed their guest and authorized user access policy. As of today, Capital One had a generous policy allowing Venture X cardholders to bring an authorized user, and for each person who held the card, 2 guests in with them to their lounges. However, that all got rolled back, and Capital One adopted the same policies that are very similar on the Platinum card, a $695 annual fee card, which doesn't allow authorized user access without payment and doesn't allow complimentary guest access either. In the future, you're going to have to pay for premium airline cards. And even if you do so, those premium cards may not allow an authorized user or even another guest to join in on that experience with you. The last thing to know with credit cards or how airlines are looking at these lounges is that new tiers are being created, sometimes without you or I even realizing it, every single day, which will now differentiate the haves from the have-nots, all based on how much you want to pay for a certain level of service, which used to come standard. Let's look at Delta. Delta created 3 different tiers of pricing under their main cabin. the worst being Delta Main Basic, which is the cheapest, but also comes with a ton of new restrictions. Even if you have a SkyMiles Reserve card and are flying a Delta flight, you have to pay up and buy your way from Delta Main Basic to something called Delta Main to be able to use lounge access even after already paying into Delta's premium card. For example, for the real cost of this, if I book a round trip out from my home city of Kansas City, I'd need to pay an extra $80 to upgrade from Delta Main Basic into Delta Main for the exact same seat, however, giving me a few additional more flexible options on that ticket. At the end of the day, you're going to start seeing more and more of this, where even if you think you're paying for premium access, you may have to check a few other boxes before walking through those doors. Let's look at change number 2, which is in the future, you will see these premium credit cards having annual fees that continue to rise. By now, you know that in the future, you're going to have to own a premium credit card, whether it's a general travel card or an airline's premium offering to get access into these coveted spaces. However, what you probably aren't prepared for is the eye-watering cost that these cards will soon be taking on. Let's briefly look at the current state of some of the top premium travel cards on the market, both airline and bank issuer branded. As you can see, we're comfortably in the $400 to $700 price point right now. It's a pinch, but a lot of times normal people like myself or you guys out there can justify getting one or maybe two of these cards and still returning great value and experiences into your life for a fair cost if you manage those cards responsibly. In the future, that same concept is going to be much harder or maybe impossible for the same type of people. Let's look at American Express, which takes the lead on almost every aspect of lounge access, and then the other banks and issuers follow suit. Every 3 to 4 years, American Express has historically updated and refreshed their Platinum card. The last time this happened was in 2021, when the annual fee jumped from $550 up to $695, where it sits today. When the Amex CEO was asked just how high this annual fee could go, because $695 at the time in the US market, that was earth-shattering. And the American Express CEO, Steven Squeri, said to that question, "Look, in Mexico, we charge $1,000 for the Platinum card. The reality is, it'll go as high as the value allows us to go." Let's look at United Airlines in an update that I detailed as soon as this news hit the market and the changes were made official. United has 4 personal cards and 3 of them that had annual fees, all jumped in their prices effective immediately. The key here is that United is not partnered with American Express. They're partnered with Chase as their issuer, and Chase was known for having more reasonable annual fees that were a little easier for the normal person to get good value in. However, Chase and United scrapped all of that. They followed the Amex model and hiked their premium credit card, the United Club Card, the only one in their lineup that allows lounge access, and they turned that into a $695 annual fee card. Sound familiar? Well, they also added a bunch of coupons and other incentives in there that supposedly provide value, but still, the bottom line is the same. Annual fees have started to move up, and everybody is telling us that they will continue to be on the move as long as people continue to fill these premium lounge spaces and want the experiences that these cards can provide. How bad is it going to get? I personally think within the next 5 years, we will see the first mainstream premium travel credit card that costs an annual fee of $999 a year. Let's look at future change number 3. The race to build lounges is not going to slow down. In fact, it may only speed up. Okay, I know in the first 2 changes, I hit you with a lot of bad news. This news probably bummed you out or made you seriously look at your premium annual fee credit card and wonder how much longer it's going to remain in your wallet. Trust me, I felt the exact same way. However, these next 2 changes, well, they may pull you back in just a little bit. As we talk about lounges popping up everywhere, potentially in your home airport next, or even additions to the places you constantly fly, let's look at 2 brands we're very familiar with, Chase and Capital One. Just very recently, as of 2020, neither of these 2 mega banks and issuers were in the lounge space really whatsoever with their own brands. Capital One launched its first lounge in 2021 in Dallas, and if you want to see my tour to see what these lounges really look like, go ahead and click on the link and watch that afterwards. However, since then, they've rapidly expanded, adding 4 different builds and other new restaurant-style concepts called Capital One Landings. It's been the same for Chase, but Chase has rolled these out even faster. They started with their first one in 2023 in Boston, and they've scaled up to 7 lounges internationally, and I believe that they'll be past 10 in just the next few years. The reason why is that for general travel cards, they've realized that these lounges are hallmarks to their success, and they are one of the biggest factors convincing people to get those cards and pay whatever on the annual fee. You'll notice that pictures of these few lounges are everywhere, in advertisements, on their marketing materials, inside their banks. They're one of the signature things that they want you to associate with American Express, Chase, Capital One, whoever. Let's look at airlines too. It's not just happening with the big banks. Airlines are increasing their lounges rapidly, and it's almost an arms race to see who can build the most. American Airlines is reported to be opening 7 new lounges this very year. How about United? They're looking at 5 new lounge spaces, both in premium lounges like the uber nice Polaris lounges or standard lounges, but also looking at expanding their grab and go concepts as well. Delta Airlines might have the biggest investment of the group. They're planning to open 8 more expected lounges by the time this year is over. And I think the most significant move amongst all of those airlines is the announcement of new JetBlue Lounges, a company that previously had absolutely no presence in the lounge space, jumping into this game as well. They're bringing online their first lounges at New York JFK and Boston Logan, and those will be fully operational by the time this year is done. Now, what this means for you and I is that the feeling that when you have one of these premium cards that, oh, I never got to fly and actually experience one of these lounges. And what am I paying all of this money for if I can never find a lounge conveniently located in my normal travel schedule? I'm not going to say that in the future this feeling will be completely over, but I think the days that we're in now will soon be a distant memory of the past. The new lounges that are being built are extremely nice, very premium spaces, and they make having one of these cards memorable. With more and more of them popping up everywhere and companies competing against each other for your business, well, in terms of real travel value, that's going to make a big difference. Let's look at our final change, number 4. The lounges you know today, they and the ones that are being built right now will be more elite than ever. If you're worn down visiting lounges that look like the breakfast lobby of a poorly run Super 8 motel or something similar where you just have cramped seating, gray decor, and whatever meal is out is almost inedible looking. Well, the good news is this will start to become a thing of the past. The future of lounges is coming, and I can tell you from the newly built ones here in the US that I've stepped into, it's looking really good, but it's only going to get better. Let me tell you exactly what future plans are for lounge builds happening right now and in the next few years. First, these are going to be more high-tech than ever. Priority Pass, which is one of the largest lounge providers in the world, rolled out their 2030 vision and exactly what their lounges and others that tap into the same building concepts will really look like for us. They're introducing the concept of the super lounge, much larger floor plans and spaces than we've ever seen before. This, in combination with the tightening and restrictions I talked about earlier, will help you feel like you actually have a secluded space to sit back and relax. We're also going to expect virtual reality fitness centers. Instead of hopping on a treadmill or a Peloton bike in the corner of a lounge in a small room, VR is going to be coming into lounges to allow you to work out in the exact way you want to. Next, unique identifiers with your ticket or even you yourself will completely customize your travel journey. There's not a lot of details for what this will look like, but I'm imagining it's going to be really similar to the Delta Airlines virtual experience that you can see at the Detroit airport. Finally, our new lounges are going to have more noise canceling technology than ever, and I'm seeing in the future more private pods, more individual workspaces, and a lot more secluded areas that you feel like you've got your own space. Next, airlines and banks are totally reimagining what these spaces should even look and feel like. Right now, the common expectation is a long wait line outside the door. Capital One and other banks are playing around with different waitlist options, allowing you to navigate the availability a lot more smoothly. Additionally, we're seeing more grab and go style lounges, and Capital One is introducing landings, which are a completely dining focused lounge experience. Finally, Delta Airlines is bringing to the table their own edition of what is a super lounge. 34,000 square feet, building right now in Salt Lake City. Just for comparison, the beautiful Capital One lounges, those range from only $10 to 14,000 square feet. These type of concepts will feel completely different. Finally, last but not least, there will be even more tiers of pricing, not just in airline tickets, but even inside of lounges, where we'll start to see secluded private sections that separate most regular lounge goers from those who want a completely private and personalized experience. Chase has already rolled this out. Look into the Reserve Suites by Chase, which operates inside one of their existing lounges. And for $3,000, you can get a dedicated host, caviar service upon arrival, upscale menus, and private bathrooms. This is not going to be the only one of its kind. And you'll start to see more personalized, but also options for you to pay in and buy your way up the experience level inside these same lounge spaces. In my mind, a lot of this is you're going to start to get what you finally pay for. Lounges will become a lot more individualized, and access will be tightened and restricted based on a number of those factors. But once you're inside, it will truly start to return to the space that we've all been led to believe that these lounges really should be. So whether you like it or not, the future is coming. What I'm interested in hearing from you is if the return of this exclusive lounge picture that will be coming in the future is something that you're looking for and willing to pay for, or if you think you'll kind of miss what we have now, where lounges are generally accessible to a lot of different people through valuable travel credit cards and, of course, the problems we currently deal with today. This will all completely change the credit card game, and I'll be here with you every step of the way to give you updates and explain what's going on as it happens. So if you like this kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe and catch more videos coming up. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.